When a couple divorces, they have to figure out what to do with their house. Statutory property division in Ontario applies only to legally married couples, so what I am about to talk about does not apply to common law spouses. What Ontario law tries to do for legally married couples is make sure that each spouse's net worth increases by the same amount during the marriage. This means, subject to some exceptions, you get to keep what was yours on the date of marriage, and you only share with your spouse the increase in your net worth between the date of marriage and the date of separation. We're going to talk about the biggest exception to this rule, the matrimonial home. In family law, a home that at least one member of the couple owns and that was ordinarily occupied by the couple on the date of separation is a matrimonial home. Note that more than one property can be a matrimonial home. For example, both the house and the cottage can be a matrimonial home. Why does it matter if a property is a matrimonial home? The reason is that if a person owns a property before the marriage, such as a cottage, and then they get married and start going to the cottage together on weekends, and when they separate the cottage still exists, then the cottage becomes a matrimonial home, and the spouse who brought it into the marriage has to split the equity in the cottage with the other spouse. Whereas if the cottage had not become a matrimonial home and was instead used as a rental property, for example, the spouse who owned it would not have to give half of the equity in the house to the other spouse. So it can make a big difference to the payout at the end of the day, which Ontario law calls the equalization payment. The equalization payment is the amount of money that the spouse who accumulated more net worth during the marriage gives to the spouse who accumulated less net worth during the marriage to make it equal. So, if you own a property and you are planning to get married, and you will be living in the property after the wedding, but you don't want the property to become a matrimonial home, in other words, you don't want to have to divide the equity in the house if you separate, then you are going to want a prenup.